Well, hello and welcome to our Subconscious Speaks. My name's Don Robert, and together with my amazing and talented bestie,
Tina Orlando.
together we are.
Tina Orlando.
And Don. There it is. Yeah, I'm sure some of our loyal listeners are like, where's that cute little intro that they always do? But did you notice we had a wonderful compliment from one of our
Mhm,
newer listeners, just
mhm.
kind of commenting in case you don't read our comments on YouTube. If you're one of those listeners that listens to it as you stream in your car and you don't
Yes.
watch, um,
hmm
yeah, it was a lovely comment about just our energy and how we
Yeah.
connect. And it's just, I was uh I was teaching at HMI the other day and I was talking about like this is me, right? Like this
hmm
gregarious, outgoing, like that's the fizz part of me. That's that, we talk about suggestibility last week and did we mention the terms? Did we get into the terms physical,
Not not really. I
emotional,
mean,
and
we
I
kind
think we
of
talked about that I don't bring that up in
yes.
sessions.
Yeah.
I think we did talk about that a little, but we did
hmm
talk about inferred and direct, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
All right.
hmm
Yeah. So the that fizz part of me, which like our fearless leader George at HMI,
Yes.
very
hmm
much the indirect, aka emo
hmm
personality, but when it's time for lights, camera, action, that
Boy.
boy gets that man shine. He just like the lights
he
come on and it's
Eh,
wham. I
yeah,
love it. I love that.
yeah. But then you see him, somewhere else walking, and
Yeah,
he's
I was
just
told early
tough.
days, like if you see George in the hallways,
Don't.
don't take it personally if he just like has his head down and walks by you because he's in emo mode, right? He's in
hmm
like focused introspection.
hmm
Um, So I feel like we could have gone another hour last week. It felt like we just
hmm
got into a wonderful groove around this idea of like flexing your ability to be suggestible, which is a good thing and a challenging thing.
hmm
I will tell you my personal opinion of that, and then I'd like to hear yours. So I will. I've been attracting more people closer to the middle. I think we've talked about this that because of social media and because of it's not even just social media, although that's probably the biggest influence we could agree on. But it's also
hmm
like the ability to literally watch 6 or 7 episodes of a show in a row. So you're like literally watching two movies about the characters that you fully engross yourself with. And it's
hmm
just,
Because you're
so
hypnotized.
I have to be super mindful about what
hmm
I let in. I have to be mindful about the people that I let
Yes.
into my inner circle because I am, even though I'm 60/40, I'm very suggestible, especially
hmm
to certain people that speak directly to me because that's my preference.
hmm
So that's me. What about you?
So hint, hint, and the disclaimer was that if you speak directly to Don,
Uh-huh.
he will respond
I
like that.
will, and then unfortunately, as people have come to find out, there's also they don't
Mm,
know this
right,
unless they're listeners and they understand the
right.
subconscious mind and our suggestibility and sexuality and whatnot. And so, um, that's my preference to take in
Yeah.
information.
Mhm.
But there's another part of me that is very easily able to just kind
Mode.
of shut down and be like,
Emo.
yeah, I'm just like when I was sick, I had people
hmm
checking on me and being so very sweet and caring
hmm
and I just not in a chatting mood,
Yeah,
not even
that's
via text because it just
right.
yeah,
It's not in the mood.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so what about you?
What was the question?
I can't remember. You got to write down stuff too. I can't be the only one taking notes when
I
you're
do write
talking.
down
Come
stuff.
on, man. That's not fair. I can't remember brilliance like that.
What was the question?
I think the question was like I started talking about direct and indirect and our preference of learning and what the hell was the
Right.
question?
I
I'm
mean, is the
sure.
question is what am I?
Well, I guess we could start there. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, I am technically a fizz, but I
Yes, you
act like
technically score as a direct person.
I
You are very direct though.
I am.
You
I'm
are.
very direct.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's why we also get along so well is because we not only do we know the language that we're speaking to each other, but
right.
then we know the preferred style in which of the delivery and the give and the
Hmm.
take,
Yes.
right? And
Hmm.
that's for us as a dear friendship, but like that would so it's interesting. I'm going to interrupt myself. I was going to say that would make a really wonderful love relationship as well, although technically, we're kind of taught that it's really opposites
Attract.
attract because two
Hmm.
people that are very direct can
Hmm.
be a little.
It can get
So
a little
there's a new
fiery.
question. What do you think about that statement?
That we could get fiery. Like
Opposites should attract, and that it's maybe
technically,
better to not have two very direct people in a love relationship. I mean, I love you, and
right,
you love me, but like we're not
right,
physically in a love relationship. We're in a dear friendship partnership.
right.
I refer
I
to you as my hypno partner.
same.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I even mentioned you in class the other day.
did you?
I did. I did.
Oh, so nice. I'm glad I'm thought of.
Dude, you're a
Um,
badass.
oh, thank you.
I just love and adore you and think the world
Well,
of you.
well, that's very nice.
Yeah.
That's nice to be thought of.
I can be
Um,
sweet.
same.
I know.
The horns are holding up the halo. Don't kid yourself.
Uh-huh.
Um, no, I think opposites do attract. I think that adds to it. And I think that's a natural match. That doesn't mean that two of the same can't coexist.
Right.
And it's not like 100, nothing is 100%.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a super outgoing person,
Uh-huh.
right? That fizz type of person,
Right.
and you're with an emo, I think that if the emo acquiesce and lets you kind of lead, it would be good because you would then get out of your comfort. I think that would be good and healthy. So I think the opposite thing absolutely works. I mean, there have been people that say, oh, two fizzes, blah, 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 they get along.
Well, that's why I'm bringing this up.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I
Well,
hear
so
often that high fizzes and high emos get along really well together.
hmm. Okay. I I I I don't think I've ever dated a high emo because I'm just not drawn to I like I like shiny things. So I'm not that emos aren't beautiful. It's there's just a different energy
Yeah.
with the kind of a more subdued, reserved kind of wait, watch, and listen kind of a personality, whereas I'm a like, let's go. Let's talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I
So
mean,
that breaks the mold of the whole opposites attract. But that's more about like so there's two tests, right? There's the relationship test and the suggestibility. So when we talk about, I feel like we need to clarify the emo and fizz thing because we're using it as
right.
if our audience understands what we're talking about. Would you
Right.
like to explain that there, Professor Orlando?
No.
No?
I guess I can. I mean, a physical is a person with their feelings on the outside. The simplest way to say it is a physical is somebody with their feelings on the outside. Their body is coming into the conversation first, where an
Hmm.
emo is more feelings are on the inside,
Mm,
and they're
that's a
very,
nice way of saying it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a very simple way to say it. I've said it
Okay.
many times. I think that
Uh-huh.
really is a nice, easy way to say that, without getting into too many crappy details. Um, so
I'm getting
you,
paper in my pen because I just remember the question that I asked you when you're like, what's the question?
okay, um, yeah.
But
So somebody like you're a physical, right? Outside, big, gregarious. Um, some would say I'm the more emo of the two of us, right?
I, yep.
I test as a physical, but I exhibit emo traits and a lot of them, which in this conversation, I would be a physical with an emo defense.
Yes, you love that like I think it was about four, maybe four, because we've known each other for about 5 years, but about 4 years ago we got into this conversation around emo and fizz, and up came your wonderful this statement around the emo straitjacket.
It's true.
Yeah. Uh, so what's that?
Well, some people call it an emo rap or an emo defense. I prefer to
Hmm.
call it an emo straitjacket because if
Hmm.
you're a fizz and you have an emo defense, you typically have a defense, you're trying not to do something. It's the best way I can kind of quickly explain
All
it.
right.
But it feels like a straitjacket a lot of the times because you want to be one way, but you are this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I get it. I'm leading the witness to so that our listeners will get it.
I'm trying to be
Yeah.
clear so,
I
everybody
got
kind
you.
of see. I know you do.
We've had these conversations before. This is for the benefit of them.
That's why I'm trying to make it super clear.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. All
I,
right. Okay. So we've broken the ceiling of calling the direct the fizz, aka
yes.
physical, and then the indirect or inferred as the emo or
Hmm.
emotional.
Yes.
So here was the question. The original question was, what's your talk track to? I said that I don't call out those terms because for me, I believe I believe that it just causes too much distraction to them wanting to
Hmm.
think about what
Yeah.
emo. I'm not emo as in like I listen to the Black Parade and have eyeliner. Like, what are you
No, it's,
talking about? Right? Because
yeah.
I am an emo in
Mm,
that sense, like,
right.
that 80s and 90s
Right.
kind of grunge rock. And, my daughter, my
Yes.
eldest is definitely went through that emo phase of liking, uh, Fallout Boy. And so
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
different connotation of that term, though.
9 Inch Nails.
So what do
Um,
you say in your part as part of your talk track? Because I think us talking about our talk tracks help the layperson listening to this that doesn't, we have a lot of people that have been exposed to hypnotherapy or hypnosis before that are interested in the channel, but then we have people that have no idea that kind of
right.
find their way here and they're like, what are these two talking about? I
Well,
like
stick
them,
around.
but like,
Stick around.
what?
We'll explain.
Yeah.
Um,
So go ahead.
so the talk track really depends on the person. So,
Thanks for the caveat. Yeah.
well, it does. So,
Yeah.
if they don't mention anything, I'm not going to say anything, right? But uh, just today, I had somebody that is going to school for psychology, and
New
so
client.
new client. Yes, I've
Okay,
been
so
busy
you're
today.
doing a first session with them, which is
Yes,
very exploratory and lots of explaining and clarifying, right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
A
Yeah.
lot of explaining,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
because they're a student and they're taking psychology classes, if I said introvert extrovert, it kind of throws them off.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I they
That
were
throws them off?
well because then they go down the road of the Myers Briggs
Yeah. Fair.
test. And I don't want them to do that. So I then said what I just said to you, where a physical is somebody that's got their body out there, the feelings are on the outside, and emotional is more introvert, like internal emotional. One physical takes direct, emotional is more inferential, like or inferences. Um, and that kind of is the talk track. It's very short, sweet, and to the point. Um, and then if they then question it, then there's a bigger conversation.
Okay.
And in previous sessions with other people, I've kind of gone in because they've asked questions or they'll tell
Right.
me about a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and then it'll
The
kind of
storytelling.
naturally evolve.
Yeah.
Yes, and then it'll
Yeah.
kind of naturally evolve into emo fizz. So
So you do bring out those terms when you're talking to your clients?
yeah, I do,
Interesting. Interesting.
I do, I do. But I don't hold them hard
Nothing
and
wrong with
fast.
that. I'm just, that's just not what I do.
Yeah, no, and there's things that you're supposed to do that I don't probably do because I don't even
Well,
think about
I
those things anymore.
teach this pre-induction speech. I just taught another
Yeah.
pre-induction speech the other day at school, and nowhere in the HMI talk track does it say anything about emo and fizz. It says direct and indirect.
Yeah, I get it, but that
Just
has never.
clarifying the stance of the school. That's
Oh
all.
no, I understand the stance of the school,
Okay.
but I just use what I know. I do what
Fair
works
enough.
works really well with what I'm or who I'm talking to. So if it's somebody that doesn't
Fair point.
doesn't even go in on any of those psychology statements or has not led me down that road during the talk portion of the intake, I will stick directly to indirect or
Yeah.
direct.
And then do
Um,
you give examples? We got into this last episode, so I don't really want to like rehash this, but I don't remember I shared the kind of the newer examples that have come to me that I like talking about, right? The whole time thing. Do you remember that?
the time thing, the
Like, I don't
time.
know why this is, and I'm sorry if I'm confusing our last episode with teaching because they both happened in the same week. Um, the I give a really simple example that helps people go, oh, that makes sense. To me, I think it is. So if I told you that I would call you tomorrow afternoon and
Mhm.
you don't know your score yet because we're just meeting each other right on
Right.
Zoom, and I use this as an example of, and it really kind of peels back their own suggestibility and how they respond to that
Mhm.
scenario, period, right? Like, so if I told you, hey, I'll call you tomorrow afternoon, and you're like me, that would annoy the hell out of you because it would be like, what do you, when? Yes, we did,
Mhm.
because you'd have the same reaction. When?
Yes. When?
Versus if
When?
somebody said, "Hey Tina, I'll call you tomorrow at 2:30," you'd be like, "Okay, good.
Great.
Nice." Yeah.
And at 2:29, I'm looking at my clock.
Like, better be
Are
on
you
time or
calling?
early. Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. If you say you're going to call me at a certain time, I'm waiting because
Yeah,
that's who I am, right?
right.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, no, I do give some examples. You know, I can never think of them when I'm outside of my talk track.
I understand.
Um,
I know we're pulling bits and pieces of
yeah,
information out of our
um,
conversational flow of how we present in a session.
now I'm trying to think of one.
It'll come to
Uh,
you if unless you want to take a second.
no,
I can
no,
pause.
we can move on. No, we can move
Well,
on if I think
maybe
of one.
this will help. Um, so the reason I'm rehashing all this, and I think that we should talk about this more, is so we spent some time last week on suggestibility and the power of suggestions, right? And so it kind of leads back to a bigger conversation of why the hell is this? Why does that even matter? And I think we've explained it sufficiently that it's how we learn. It's your
Mm-hmm.
preferential style of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that matter? I'm leading the witness here. Come follow along with me, which is basically getting to the heart of this whole wonky thing that people think in their mind, as much as we dispel the myths and rumors, and it's not this and it's not that, it's going to be this, you're going to feel like that, this is the experience, and all of which is geared towards just helping people connect to the possibility that this will actually work. Because
Mm-hmm.
I believe they have to believe. They have to have
Absolutely.
some 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 trust and some hope and some belief in that
Mm-hmm.
they've either done some research or they know a little bit about it. But like, I guess I want to I want to kind of transfer this conversation towards the why this is all so important when it comes to deep and lasting change,
Yeah. I
which is,
mean,
the promise of hypnosis, right? Is that you can change those deep-seated beliefs that you have.
you can stop suffering. Suffering is, I mean,
Suffering is optional. Yeah.
it is optional. You can
Yeah.
stop suffering. I don't know how many times have we said it to people like you could stop suffering, you could stop doing this, or you could have a better life, or you could just be, you know, calm. You don't have to be in the storm. It
Mm.
actually works. I don't, and this, I mean, we both wrestle with it. I think every hypnotherapist wrestles with this, why it is not understood. And I'm going to go back on what I said last week because there is no damn money in the cure. They don't want you to be
Mhm.
better. I'm
There they go again,
sorry.
those conspiracy theorists. Oh, what did
Okay,
I?
you can call me that, but you can then go read the research from
Right.
Stanford and MIT, and
Yeah.
you can go and read the CIA documents with people that have
Yeah.
more PhDs than I got shoes. Like, I mean,
So I just brought up this meme. I'm my dear boyfriends, my buddies up in Seattle, and I have a little, just the three of us. They invited me to a bigger group chat, and I just had to leave because I can't handle 8,000 alerts. I really, I've gotten a lot busier. I have to stay focused. It takes a lot of
mhm,
energy to create what we create for clients.
yeah,
At least it does for me. I know you put the same energy into it. And when,
mhm,
you're hearing,
I can't.
it's another funny meme, but I do love our meme
Mm,
exchange. I am a
right?
memer, right? And I
Yeah,
found this
absolutely
one that said at this point they should change the phrase conspiracy theory to logical assumption.
true.
Just
It
very
is.
interesting that that came back up again, and I just wanted to share that with you. I thought that was pretty clever.
I like
Yeah.
it. I mean, why else would they? Why else would they bash it so adamantly if it didn't work? Like, why
Hmm.
would they be concerned with it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's
because it's not a
personally,
pill, it's not a prescription that you need. It doesn't require a yeah. Hmm.
well, that and it's not as easily measured as something like CBT. CBT is
Fair.
easily measured.
Yeah, fair.
So, and hypnosis is not like, um, that is per person that you're dealing with.
Totally. Yeah.
So some people, take to it like a duck to water, and other people have more stuff. So it takes a little longer to work through certain things, not everything.
Yeah.
You can't just say it's one session done.
Do you know what I've uncovered? And I'm curious about your take on this after what you just said, right? So everybody's different, of course.
Hmm.
We all have different learning styles. I've noticed that I do a lot of like affirmations and a lot of manifesting journaling and like I'm attracting the right people at the right time,
Hmm.
consistently attracting. And I
Hmm.
seem to be attracting people that are very suggestible to me, which I think makes a difference. That
Hmm.
connectivity, that they call it rapport in
Hmm.
the sales world, and Tony Robbins and NLP. It's
Hmm.
a big part of what we build, the rapport that we have with our clients. What do you think about that?
I think it's paramount, like that you have to have that rapport. I also find it interesting that, and this might be actually what might be a different way to say what you just said, is that you find people that are going through something you've already been through, like
Yeah,
collectively, um,
that's another big one, I believe. Yep.
which is saying a lot considering the clients I have. I love them.
Yeah, me
But
too.
in one way or another, you attract what you do or who you are. So,
Hmm.
um, you know, I the connectivity, the rapport, once you can almost have, um, it's almost like you need that familiarity. They need that because then the client then feels seen and heard. You're not sitting in the judgy chair like, mm-hmm, keep
Right,
traumatizing me.
right.
I'm, I'm so horrible.
It's not horrible to tell it like it is. Again,
It's true though. How
yeah.
many times? I mean, we've all said somebody, everybody sits in therapy at one point in their life. So, I mean, I know I've sat there and thought, does this person actually care? All they're saying is, there's no identifying with me. They're just sitting there going, mm-hmm,
That's a part of
mm-hmm,
being a hypnotherapist that I really embrace, enjoy,
yeah,
and thrive on is that I'm my absolute personable self. And
Absolutely.
I am now I've learned to taper the amount of when they say something that I've experienced, like it's not time for me to tell them my life story, right?
No, but there is power
But there is
in,
power in the connectivity of I know what you're going through. I 28 years without a cigarette like that.
there you
I
go.
know what you're trying to accomplish by putting down that horrible habit.
Hmm.
Yeah,
hmm
as an
Absolutely.
example. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's and I think that builds in to the rapport. And I mean, when you're looking for a hypnotherapist or you are a hypnotherapist and listening to this, it comes down to the moral compass, right? Your
Yes,
moral compass.
you've mentioned the moral compass before. I love that statement, the
Mm-hmm.
moral compass. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do anything outside of my moral compass or yours. So I can't make you do anything outside yours. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
simplify it and I say, I can't make you do or say anything in hypnosis that you wouldn't do or say while I'm talking to you right now.
mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's another one of those little kind of barrier lowers, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
shields come down a little bit more because there's
Mm-hmm.
that worry, right? Because of the Hollywood version of hypnosis is mind control.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a negative side.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, there's the what are they? The stand-up hypnosis
The
guys.
the comedy version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they? Whatever they're called.
Well, they're
There's them.
hypnotists.
Hypnotist. Thank you.
Stage
Oh,
hypnotism. Yeah,
thank you
that
for
there it
both
is.
words.
Yeah.
Stage
Yeah.
hypnotist.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're great and they're doing their thing. That's really great, but that's not what I do. That's not what
No.
you do.
No.
It's not even close.
Not
I
even.
don't think.
I
Um,
I do say after I because that's a big part of my talk track is that I tell them what it isn't, right? That it's
yes.
not the Hollywood version and it's not the stage version. And I
Hmm.
explain what those are, but I do tie in the reality is that both of them, direct or indirectly, are using the same thing that we use, which is the power of suggestibility.
Yeah.
They just find out a
Yes.
lot. Well, the Hollywood version is what it is, right? I'm the stage
Well,
guys.
I'm
They're searching for the people like me, the fizz that's
yes,
super
the highly
suggestible.
suggestible,
Yeah.
if the stage hypnotist is standing in front of you and he's nodding his head, he's looking to see who's nodding back at him.
Hmm.
He's looking
Hmm.
to see how many times you blink or how many times you swallow.
Yeah.
He is paying attention, and that's just he's watching your behavior.
And that
Um,
in itself is a skill that not a
oh
lot
my
of
God, it's lightning
hypnotists have.
fast,
It's like you're like on the spot too. You're in
right?
front of a crowd that's
Yeah,
expecting you to perform.
and that's why
Like, hang on,
you'll
I got to
see.
do a suggestibility questionnaire. Who feels warm? If I said, if I had you imagine sucking on a sour, bitter, juicy, bright yellow lemon, whose mouth would water?
And if
Okay,
your mouth
you
is
come
watering
up.
right now,
You
you're a
come up.
fizz
You
and you're
come up.
highly suggestible. So that's it right there. Like,
Yeah.
and then you're looking for, the stage hypnotist. If he's moving one way, he's looking to see who's following. If he
Hmm.
touches his face, who in the
A
crowd
little
is then
NLP, pacing and leading. Yeah. Yeah.
pace and
Mirroring and
lead, mirror
matching. Yeah.
match, right?
Yeah.
And that's what a stage hypnotist is doing. That's
Yeah.
not
It's
really what
fascinating.
we're
It's a
thinking.
fascinating experience. As you know, I think I mentioned this last
Yeah.
week. I was at an HMI show with Glenn, who's kind of our resident celebrity stage
Mhm.
guy.
Right.
Great guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and I was a participant at school and was glued to my chair.
I know you were. I saw you.
I almost fell over because I couldn't get it. I couldn't stand up. Power of suggestion.
Yeah, they usually don't pick from the back of the room. Emos like to sit back there,
Yeah.
just so you know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So that holds water. I think of those ladies that all sat in the front row in the classes and were just
They're
like
all fizzes.
8,000 questions. Hey, Billy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in person. So yeah, I don't know that you could do it on Zoom. I mean, that you can, but in
They still show
person,
up in Zoom. They're the first ones with the hands up.
oh, I
It's
know they are.
still very much happening on Zoom. It's just different. It's just different because you can't really, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you can pick up on people's energy in Zoom until they start
Yes,
talking,
you
un-
can.
until they start interacting. I mean, in a classroom setting. I don't
Oh
mean
yeah.
as a
Oh,
client.
they're just sitting
Yeah.
there.
No, a
Yeah.
client's much more vulnerable. They're there to get help. It's a different scenario than a class. Or
Right.
in the case of, Glenn, it's a show where you're on
And
the
then
spot.
he's looking for, micro compliances. That's what
Hmm.
those are called. Where, if he touches his chin, he's going to look and see, you know, it's,
Yeah.
but I mean, we all do that. All hypnotherapists, hypnotists do that, but we do it for different purposes. He's doing it collectively to pick the most suggestible people.
Correct.
You
Yes.
and I are doing it to see how we're going to approach that person,
Yeah.
whether directly or inferentially.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but it is a real thing, people.
Yeah. So what does this all mean, Tina? Like what does what so I mean, we know what it means, but like for the listener, why are we spending so much time talking about this?
I think because it's, first of all, it's ridiculous to think that it's not true, that it's not
Mm,
real when there is so much evidence saying there is if you do the research.
right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying just a quick Google search. I'm saying, go look at the research studies that how hypnotherapy has helped with, breast cancer survivors, people that have sleep issues, people that have addiction issues, especially to opioids. Hypnosis is huge. I mean, it's Dr. David Spiegel, right? In Stanford, he's the one that does all the
Yes.
research for the
Yes. Yes.
opioids.
Yes. Yes.
This is Stanford, people. This isn't, some little podunk
Yeah.
town.
No, it's
Like
not,
this,
Utah Community College that did
it,
a study.
this is Stanford, and they're using hypnosis for drug addiction. Like,
Mm.
let's get out of the mindset that it doesn't work just because Freud said that it didn't,
As Freud has people lay down and does guided imagery with them. But go ahead.
and re-traumatizes them and only
Uh-huh.
sees female clients and then says it calls it hysterical
Uh-huh.
conversion.
Yeah.
Right. So while he's sharing a mistress with Carl Jung, but who cares? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Apparently
Um,
Carl minded because they severed the relationship of him being
well,
his,
they
protege.
sever. So here's the thing: they severed the relationship over it. I could be wrong, but this is how I understood it.
Mm.
Um, because Carl Jung wrote him a letter saying what he was going to do, the collective consciousness, and Freud told him not to do it.
Yes, I
And
this is out of
yes,
AOS. Yeah. Go ahead.
yes,
Flex,
yeah.
Tina.
It's so funny.
I am a
Um,
little bit. Yeah.
so Carl did it anyways. Freud was pissed off,
I love that
and
about
kind of,
Carl. Thank you,
and
Carl.
yeah, absolutely. And Freud, tried to blackball him literally out of psychology for
Mm.
years. And now all of a sudden, his, theories are, top of the line. You got to go to, a Carl Jungian styled school. And I mean, that's just one example of what he did. I mean,
Right.
I get it. Freud has his place, but
I mean, he
he
is the
was wrong.
father of talk therapy. We can give him that
Sure,
title.
absolutely. But he was wrong about Carl Jung and he was wrong about hypnosis. And I really think the reason why he was so against it was because he was bad at it. But whatever.
Interesting. All right. I love that opinion. Yeah. All right.
I do.
Um, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
So
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so I, go ahead.
No, you had a
No, no.
so leads to you had a thought.
So, that's why I think that, um, it's really time for people to really do their research.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, it's not like you literally have a computer in your hand or in your back pocket. that you can't just immediately. You can even summon it to look things up now. You don't even have to type.
But like the
It's
devil.
so easy.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, even chat or chat
Uh-huh.
GPT or whatever
Yeah.
will tell you that hypnosis is effective,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
It
AI is telling you it works. It also tells you everything else you believe, so you might want to believe that too. And
right.
I think that that it's nothing else is working for people.
It does tend to, especially around addictions. So you brought up addictions.
Yeah.
I've started to see. Well, it first started with mostly smokers, and then just any kind of delivery system of nicotine, whether it's dip or chops, which is pot and cigarettes, like tobacco, or the vaping is a tough one because it's so easy to overdo it with that because I'm so glad that vaping wasn't around when I was smoking because it was bad enough. I literally was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day when I quit cold turkey,
Mm.
um, using the power of my mind. I didn't work with a hypnotist, but I tapped into the supercomputer that is my subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This part back here.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting this idea of like that you get caught in the loop of what you've told yourself
Mm-hmm.
that you're this. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
addict. Okay, well, do you even know what that
Are you?
means? Like, what does that mean? Like, so that's one of the gifts that I have of being in sobriety and being around 12 step work for 30 years, is a talk track around uncovering what that means to them. Because it's really easy to just kind of have that blanket statement, I'm this, which is an affirming statement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we
Absolutely.
use the opposite of that when we're giving people positive suggestions for change in the I am format, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it makes it so.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You're affirming um that you're an addict, but it, it becomes it becomes really apparent when you're talking about adult movie addiction.
That was a really PC way of saying that.
Well, I'm trying so that YouTube doesn't stop it from being
Everybody
seen.
knows what she just said, right?
Mhm.
Raise your hand if you got lost on what that means.
Adult movie addiction.
Yeah, adult movie addiction. You mean like The Notebook?
Yeah,
Oh no, different.
there's so many things I could say right now. But yeah, so when you, because that's speaking of adult movie addiction,
Uh-huh.
that is based on a natural occurrence of a normal habit. I don't even think it's a habit, a normal thing that people
It's a
do.
God-given trait, if I may, right? Sex is God-given. It's part of our DNA to procreate.
Right, but it actually starts much younger than that.
Yes, of
So,
course. I'm just saying, just similar to the primitive mind that we're all born with, that fight or flight and those two basic fears of, falling or loud
mhm,
noises, there's also
mhm.
that natural instinct in men and women to do that
Right,
naturally, not what
naturally.
turns into this obsession.
Right. So it's hard to separate it, and it's easier to say that, and this isn't the cop out, but it's more of a coping mechanism of
Absolutely, it's a coping mechanism.
stress relief.
Yes,
Um,
literally.
we're dancing around here.
Having fun dancing around.
So I hope
Staying
there's a lot of
appropriate,
emos.
YouTube, Apple,
Yeah, y'all are really
Spotify,
inappropriate.
staying
Maybe
appropriate. Don't flag
we're
us.
trying, but I mean, at least, I mean, medical terms are medical terms,
Yeah,
but um, you know, this is a coping mechanism, a natural thing that happens at a young age. And if there is shame around it at a young age, that's going to continue and it's going to magnify out because then it's turned into a secret. And what happens when there's a secret? You want to do it even more. And then it turns into
Gives
another
it
bigger
power.
coping,
Yeah.
gives it power. And there's a bigger coping mechanism because then you learn that whenever there's something wrong, you're going to go do what you do. When there's
Right.
something exciting, you're going to go do what you do. Like,
And even if either of those aren't present, you're going to
if
do
you're
what you're going to
bored,
do because you're
do.
in a subconscious loop.
Right. So it's just this thing, and especially with adult movie addiction, um, there are ways that that have been very successful using hypnosis.
Hmm.
Um, very successful.
You've been very successful in this arena,
I have.
right?
Yes.
With
Yes.
clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
Which
successful.
is a wonderful
And
service to provide, you know.
well, this is not an easy thing to even
No.
admit for, people,
Yeah.
male or female.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to admit. Um, and it will change your view of relationships of just the basic act of sex. It'll change the dynamics of, your communication. It will also change your availability
Hmm.
for intimacy. So there's a lot
For
of
real
factors that go.
intimacy, not self intimacy.
That's
Yeah. Just
between
clarifying.
his between
Just
his brothers. You need a lot more self intimacy if you're suffering with adult movie addiction. I mean, I'm just trying here, people.
you're
Like
doing good. You're doing good.
trying to get
Um,
around it.
I want to jump in for a sec. You said the magic words that I talk about a lot is the coping mechanism, right? So for smokers, it's the call me to the cigarette or to the snuff or the dip or the whatever, the vape pen. And I call it the reaching outside of yourself for comfort
Hmm. Hmm.
because
Hmm.
we're not taught
I
healthy
can't say
coping
that.
skills. Huh?
I mean, I can't really say that. That won't really work out well when you're reaching outside of yourself in your adult movie addiction. It doesn't really.
Yeah, but it's
I,
it's
I need to
it's
find other words.
sorry, I'm talking to your emo now. I was inferring that people are reaching for something, the
Absolutely.
remote to change the topic of the adult
Absolutely.
theme,
Hmm.
reaching for food, reaching
Hmm.
for alcohol,
Hmm.
marijuana,
Hmm.
cocaine, etc.,
Their
etc.
dysfunctional relationships, their
But they're reaching
intimacy
outside of
issues.
themselves because they don't have their own coping mechanism
That's
that's
that's what
healthy.
I'm.
That's what I
Well,
was trying to.
this is the coping mechanism, right?
I
Like,
understand.
yeah. So when the relationship, it's which one came first, the cart or the horse, when it comes to the adult movie addiction. Um, Probably the cart. I think like that started before the relationship,
Oh,
and
no
then
doubt.
that
Yeah, that
becomes the
self-discovery of your bodies when you're little people.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that comes
So
before you ask Janie to the dance and become boyfriend
right,
and girlfriend, or
right. Then
even start even thinking about touching each other. Yeah,
there's shame. There's all kinds of things that go into this bag. So
yeah,
it's not a one stop fix. Like you really kind of have to dig into, behavior, childhood, teenage years,
yep.
what you did to deal with maybe being bullied or, school traumas, whatever. This was generally it's an escape.
Yeah.
Um, and, it's an escape type of thing. Yes, they are reaching out.
Hmm.
Um,
They're going
so
outside of themselves. Would you write that but instead of the reaching? Because that seems to be a bad trigger for your brain. Like I'm not saying like literally, although this connectivity for me started with they reach the call me mechanism is reaching for the cigarette.
yes,
People that smoke a lot that are super addicted they'll reach for. I've done it. I'll reach for a
mhm,
cigarette when there's already one in my mouth.
yes,
Okay, that's what I
hmm,
mean reaching.
yes,
So I understand that you're equating it to reaching.
A little levity, okay?
Well,
I
that's a little
mean,
levity goes a long way. Oh, and by the way, just in case you forgot, laughter builds connectivity. It builds rapport.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
laugh all the time.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Anything more on the coping mechanism with that wonderful shameful can be shameful addiction?
No, not today. Not right now.
Not today. Okay.
No,
All right.
not right now.
Okay, so I remembered what I wanted to kind of noodle with you is why we're spending so much time kind of going back over this idea of suggestibility and it's really what we're talking about is like the how and the why hypnosis works. Because I here's what I believe. I believe that there's a disconnect purposely, as we've talked about, right? That there's information out there like I like to watch TV. I watch a lot of TV. I watch series and this
Okay.
word, the subconscious, gets said so much as a passing kind of thing, like it's just part of the dialogue that a writer wrote for a character to say. They're not
Hmm.
saying it, and so that somebody's going to go get hypnotized to change something. It's just part of the, especially when I watch these detective shows, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're
Hmm.
talking about the theories and the Castle's one of my favorite because he just goes he's a writer, his character's a writer, and he just comes up with these flamboyant kind of
Uh-huh.
stories and oh, by the way, did I say this last week? I watched an episode of Castle where he was working with a therapist because he did I say this last week?
Mm-mm,
Yeah.
no, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
Do you watch the show? My sister turned me on to it. I've told
Um,
you about Castle because you told me
uh,
about
White collar.
the low crime guy, which I've been watching. I'm into season 2 on that one,
White collar.
white
Hmm.
collar, and I totally understand why you love that show. It's very cheeky for an American show.
Uh-huh.
But so Castle, the main
Hmm.
character, has some weird CIA operative thing happen to him where he like disappears on his
Oh.
wedding day for 2 months and can't remember.
Oh.
And so something's done to his mind to we don't know
Hmm.
that all of that hasn't been explained yet. But in the last step, one of the last episodes I watched, he somebody recommended that he talk to a therapist,
Hmm.
a regular, I think it was a CBT therapist, right?
Uh-huh.
And guess what that therapist suggested?
Hypnotherapy.
He didn't say hypnotherapy. He didn't the therapist didn't say hypnosis, but he talked around it in a way that Castle hears that message, and Castle, being a very direct character, says,
Hmm.
"Oh, you mean you're going to do hypnosis with me?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yeah."
Hmm.
So that he could, and then the therapist also said the kind of the key when you're working with memories is, you know, um, they may be actual memories or your imagination. That's why
Hmm.
inadmissible in court
That's correct.
using memory recall in hypnosis. You can
That's
recall
correct.
memories, but
Don't
not
know if
sure if
they're
it's going to be from the imagination or from the actual,
right,
because it's a
right.
mixed bag of fancy to real.
Information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because everything it sees is real.
yeah,
So maybe you saw it in a movie and you remembered it subconsciously as you.
exactly. Right. Because you
Because
store it down there as a known association. Like
right.
that's what you think now.
And the subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy.
Yeah.
So
So I
yeah.
think that, and maybe if we put the conspiracy or what was a logical thought hat back on, we're not going to call it conspiracy anymore. The
You know,
logical
it's
thought,
logical.
right?
Yeah.
The logical thought hat says that the reason they don't really explain it so that the layman sitting on the couch obsessively watching a show gets like this moment where they're like, huh, I
I
bet you
wonder
I
if that
could use
works.
hypnosis to do some change in myself, right?
Right. Right.
Because of the things that you said earlier.
Right.
Um, but if you, it's like anything. Like I do this thing with people that are quitting nicotine. I'll just say that. I
Hmm.
do this. I use the color red as a reminder,
Hmm.
and It might be as bit of a little bit as small as some nail polish, could be a car, a stop sign, a billboard, but like
Mhm.
your mind when it encounters that, and then I say like it's kind of like when you decide to get a new car.
I knew
And
you were going to say this.
and you and your partner are in on it and you're like, can we get a red one? I always wanted a red one. And can we get it two-door? We like, the kids are out of the house now. Like, and so what do you see on the road for the next month while you're thinking about buying that new car? That's all you
Every
see.
red new car.
All you see. It's like
Absolutely.
unbelievable. And
Hmm.
everyone right now who's listening to this is going to nod their head and go, holy shit. Yeah, you're right.
Not only that, but their peripheral vision will start to look around the room for something red.
Yeah. I mean, and then I say that I strategically have red everywhere. It doesn't hurt that my favorite hockey team wears red, the Florida Panthers, right? That's certainly helpful. But like I have a speaker on my desk that is red,
It's
right?
so
Like
funny.
there's red everywhere. Um, because I'm invoking that
Hmm.
connection. I'm
Right.
invoking that activator, right?
Right. Hmm.
For the good, the positive, the true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, I did just quote
Absolutely.
her. Yeah.
I know.
I had a session with
Yes,
her on Tuesday. Yeah, it's fresh.
that's wonderful. I love her.
Yeah.
Um,
She mentioned you, by the way.
oh, that's
Yeah.
sweet.
We were working on
Um,
something. She's like, yo, I went round and round with Tina on this one too.
oh, now I need
Because,
to think
she
about it.
can say that to
She
us.
can. She's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm so okay with that. Um, Speaking of shows and hearing that word, subconscious,
Yeah.
um, slash unconscious, um, so it seems to be in the detective shows where they get into this
Into the
subconscious thing.
mindset of it. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
they end up saying, maybe subconsciously they knew what this is what
Uh-huh.
they wanted to do. And this is
Mm-hmm.
how the one that does that all the time is that new show with the Corky Elsbeth.
With the who?
She's Corky Elsbeth. Is that her name?
Yeah,
Has
I tried watching that. My brother watches it and loves it. I
she's
just can't
she's
handle
very
her
quirky.
I can't
I
handle
get
her
it.
personality. I
I
watched about three
understand.
episodes when I was desperate for some new shows and
I
yeah.
get it. But she
Yeah.
is always saying at least every episode, maybe subconsciously she
Oh,
left
really?
it there.
All
Like
right.
every episode she says it. I'm
But
like,
it's a
okay.
it's but it's here's the point I want to make. The reason I feel like we need to spend time on this is because it's a throwaway line. It's
Hmm.
just it's like they don't give it any
Right.
actual meaning and they don't go into, well, when someone has an early experience in life and they create this known association to, when something happens, they kill a little animal and they get a rush out of that, right? And so that becomes the subconscious knowing of when this happens, that's how I acted out. And
Yes.
then it
And
turns
then
into humans and, anyway,
then it keeps going until, they're adults
but
acting
it's
out the
never
same
explained like
patterns.
that. Yeah.
Right? It never is. I mean, if you experience a trauma at 7 years old and then you experience a similar trauma at 27 years old, then you will act the same way. You will
Yeah.
literally act out the same way as a result of those two traumas.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be all bad. I'm going to share one of the things
No,
that I like
absolutely.
to when we get into explaining Dr. Kappas' theory of mind. I like to use the example of like after I do the general kind of collecting of the knowns, positive and negative, like we like chocolate cake, we don't like carrots, like
Yeah.
we like, cookies and desserts, but we don't like spinach. I
Hmm.
talk about my personal example of how I interacted with a dog at 8 years old.
Right.
Our first dog, Sabrina, as my family dog, followed me home in the rain. 8 years old, back when you could walk around at night, and the rule was home by dark, and it was dark. So little Donnie was breaking the rules, and Sabrina called. She followed me home. She was whimpering, and it was raining. It was like this whole kind of movie scenario thing. And so I say that to then whenever Don or Donnie sees a dog, how do you think he reacts? He kneels down and he goes, "Hi, what's your name, sweetie?" He turns into that 8-year-old little boy.
Right. Right. Those are patterns.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
how powerful these deep subconscious experiences are.
They are the patterns of who you are.
And on the other side of it, I got a buddy of mine, dear friend of mine, Cliff, who got bit in the face by a dog about when he was 10 years old.
Right.
Multiple
So now he doesn't
surgeries,
like dogs.
cosmetic and
Right.
medical surgeries. He's got a little nick on his cheekbone because I know him. I'm close with him, so I know it's there. But what do you think Cliff's reaction is when he sees a dog?
The same as it was when he was 10. Now I got to back
Danger,
up. Right.
danger, danger,
That's
right?
how powerful, that's the experiences and the patterns.
Hmm.
Just, and along that same line is words and songs and TV.
Feelings
It's
attached to songs, and yeah,
absolutely,
music's a big one for everyone, I believe.
absolutely it is. I mean,
Yeah,
so here's my challenge. There's a song, it's called
a new challenge.
Anxiety. Yeah, there's a new challenge.
I
So
love a.
pay
I
attention.
think our listeners love a good challenge. Go ahead, Tina. What is it?
So there's a song called Anxiety by Dochi. Okay. I want you to listen to it and pay attention to how you feel during the song
Hmm. Hmm.
because words matter.
Uh. Yeah. Did I ever tell you about my favorite book before I got introduced to um, hypnotherapy or hypnosis? Or it was a book by I've shared this on I think I don't know like episode 7 or 9 or something like What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad
Yes.
Helmstetter. It changed
Yeah.
my life. I had
Yeah.
horrible self-talk.
Right. And
Like I
this
would call
this song
myself
is
names that I would never let you call me.
right. Right. No, I get it. We've talked about this on
Yes.
here.
Yes.
But that's my point
Sorry, you
in
triggered a memory.
did I? Oh no.
How cool would it if like if some animated show would like have like a thought bubble pop up to let people know that they were having a memory to an earlier event in their life, which became what we call known associations, but which
Every
became
time.
a known way to respond to that stimuli.
Well, I mean, if you just took your time and really kind of looked at what's going on in your life, you would see
Hmm.
that your reactions to things has been the way you've been reacting to it since you were a child, just as an adult form. Like that's how it works. What? 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 Are you reading the words or listening to it?
I'm just I pulled it up on Apple Music and I'm like, because I was trying to think like, do I not know about this song? But
Look at the
that
lyrics.
well, do we really want to? Do you want me to read it to
No,
you?
I mean you can.
Anxiety, keep on trying me. I feel it quietly, trying to silence me. Yeah. My anxiety can't shake it off of me. Somebody's watching me and my anxiety. Yeah. There's a new one now that like it's like a little like it's a TikTok loop that seems
Hmm.
to be I can't remember what it is right now, but it's about anxiety.
Right. So
Solo,
what?
no mojo, bounce back, no pogo, unhappy, no homo, no brands, no logos, money on my jugular, natural hustler. Where
Which is all fine and well, but what you are saying, your subconscious mind is listening. So
oh,
you're taking
go ahead.
all this in
Yeah.
as reality.
The more this has become clear to me, the more I was aware of the music because in the spirit of I have to be mindful of what I let in.
Hmm.
I mean, just as an example, okay, teenage angst, like 9 Inch Nails, Head Like a Hole
Hmm.
was my gospel. That angst, because that's where I was. That's where I
Yeah.
was emotionally in my life, and it
Abs-
just like spoke to my deep subconscious beliefs around.
right.
"Ugh." Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
I get it. I mean, it's think
Like Beck,
Marvin
I'm a
Gaye.
loser, baby. Like what and why are there
You're
so many
right.
negative hooks? Is it because of the negative bias? If we go backwards to like, 9 or 10, 15 episodes ago about,
Hmm.
tapping into the negative seems to be
Hmm.
easier than tapping into somebody's positive.
That's
Is
correct.
that because of the trauma, do you think, is stored differently?
I do, but I think the reason why the negatives get hooked in so quickly for everybody is because then you can trauma bond over it.
You can what?
like trauma bond. So
Oh,
you're
trauma bond.
bonding
Okay. Okay.
with, Nine Inch
With the
Nails
singer.
or
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Absolutely. Me and Eddie
Absolutely.
Vedder. Now, Eddie,
I don't know what that
I'm
says
still
about me and
alive.
Prince, but
That
okay.
was a big one. That was a nice turning, right? When 10 came out, that was like I was sober and life was changing for
Hmm.
me at that point. I got to
Same,
see
same. I
them
get it.
in the rain in Miami. It was, oh my God, on the 10 tour.
Nice, nice.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was your anthem, whatever at that time in your life because
That
you
was my life
embodied.
script, to use our language, right? It's like
Right,
literally the script that you write for yourself, and until you seek change, it just kind of is.
right,
I mean, it
right,
still brings up a certain emotion.
right. And it's not nostalgia. People always do that. And it's not nostalgia. This is an actual emotion attached
Hmm.
to your experience.
I immediately go back to one foot on the chair in front of me and one foot on my chair, like standing up to be able to see Eddie singing this
I get it. I mean,
immediately, like
yeah.
instant trance, shock
Hmm.
induction.
Yes.
You want to induce yourself?
Hmm.
Listen to some, like, and now I use it for the positive. So Cheryl and I had a session a couple of weeks ago, and it was like she reminded me that I have the perfect right timing, and then the next thing you know, into my mind comes right here, right now, right,
Right, right.
and then the Van Halen version, which is right now. Hey,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
tomorrow, and I'm out like walking my neighborhood listening to that because I'm
Right.
feeding my subconscious the positive loop.
Absolutely.
That's a
But
form of
if you're
self-hypnosis, people.
absolutely, and this is why it's so important to pay attention to what they're pushing on you,
Mm.
the media, the powers that be, whether it's this, top 10 song right now. And
Uh-huh.
she's great. I'm not knocking her.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking really what she's saying, but
That song
you,
reminds me of Gautier. I know they're not the same singer, but they sound a little alike. And
that's interesting.
somebody that I used to know. Is she the one that sings on that? No,
No, nope.
she's a newer artist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dochi. Yeah.
Yes. Which
Um,
doesn't spell like the way it sounds at all.
no, it's
Doechii. Yeah.
yeah, Dochi.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
It's
Say it more, Tina, because it makes it so much more clear when you say it. Not.
it does when you see it being
When you
written. I'm
see
like,
it now,
right,
yeah, okay, yeah, Dochi.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, it took me a week to figure out how to even say it because I didn't
Yeah.
even think to put it in Google. I was like, how am I going to say her name? I've been
Right.
looking at this for a week.
Right.
Um, but yeah, what do you listen to?
Hmm?
Like that's, what do you listen to for, everybody else? What are you listening to? What are you watching?
Yeah.
What are you taking
What are
in?
you
Because those,
feeding your mind?
well, yeah. And who's feeding your mind? Who's
Who
using
you
your brain?
letting be in
You?
charge? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, these are the things like, test it out.
Yeah.
Listen to a song that, I mean, for me, like a song that really kind of sets me into focus. It's not a Prince song. It's Thunderstruck.
Who?
Um,
What?
Thunderstruck, AC/DC.
Oh, Thunderstruck. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thunderstruck. Yeah, that's
Isn't
that's
that
a thing. So
Joe's thing? It,
it is.
yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
hear it now, and this is why I brought it up.
Yeah.
So when I hear it now, I instantly start setting into that moment, and I can almost see it happen all over again. And that is how the mind works,
That's
right?
right. Joe would say that's your internal representation.
Representation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Joe's
Mm-hmm.
our NLP instructor, our senior instructor at HMI.
He's
Joe
amazing.
Tavanella, just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Love Joe.
Mm-hmm.
He was my first
Absolutely.
mentor, as you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love Joe.
Did some good work
Um,
with Joe. Grateful for Joe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, pay attention to
I
what
think that's
you're
it right there. I mean, if we boiled this episode down to, I mean, you can listen to this over and over and try and follow us, but really it comes down to be mindful of what you are letting in and repeating to yourself. Every time you
mm-hmm.
sing that chorus, that's the sad
Mm-hmm.
story. You're reaffirming that you're the sad story.
Yes.
So just
Yes.
be mindful of that, especially if you're living a sad story and you're wondering why. that might be a
Pay
good place
attention
to
to what
start.
you're watching,
Yeah.
what you're taking in, what you're reading,
Yeah.
what you're listening to. Music really can change how you're feeling. I mean, it's frequency, it's energy. So it's recorded at a frequency.
Yeah.
So change the station. See if that doesn't work.
You want to
I'm just
talk about
saying.
it? I'll just leave you with this loop. I did a TikTok on this, right? That mustard on the beat, right?
Yes.
From the Super Bowl show, like
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
so much airtime, people doing that dance to it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's literally a loop.
Not like us. Yeah.
So you can create a positive loop, or you can hire Tina or I. We'll do that
We'll
for you.
create positive loops for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. We go
That's
round and
right.
round.
So I'll put our contact information like I always do in the episode notes. So,
Absolutely.
uh, well, this has been super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we could do another next kind of
Yes.
conversation about this next week. So,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
ultimately, it comes down to your subconscious is speaking to you all the time. The question is, are you
there it is.
listening?
What? Sorry.
Are you listening?
There's our tagline right there. Yeah,
Are
that
you
was so
listening?
nice, so subtle how you just moved that right in. Nice job, Tina Orlando. I love you so much. Thank you for
I
your
love you,
time
Bunches.
today. All right,
Thank you.
everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next week.